You're a conductor.
Yes, yeah, I'm trying to be.
What? Sorry?
Oh, I'm trying to be. It's I
Oh,
like to
okay,
joke
okay.
around.
Oh, okay. So, and you're near Chicago.
I go to school in Chicago, but currently I'm with my partner in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Denver is the country music part of America, isn't it?
Uh, not so much. I would say that's more of like Nashville. Denver
Oh,
is
I see.
seems to be very rock and roll oriented.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Um, and Nicholas, so you were there in lockdown with your partner?
Uh, I've been back and forth between Chicago and Denver
Okay,
for obligations with school, and then um, to be out here for support.
okay. And your lockdown, did it also start in March?
It did. It did. It started middle to the end of March.
Mm.
Yeah. It came on quite suddenly, actually.
How is it? How did it affect you? Because you say you're still studying.
Yes. Um, well, I think I count myself lucky because I was able to get whatever performances and projects I had planned. They happened to be very early in the year. So
Mm.
around January, February, and March, early March is when my projects were. And then as soon as I was done, that's when the pandemic started.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So I consider myself very lucky.
Yeah. And these projects, were they projects for you to graduate or to part of your studying? Okay.
Yes, they were. So I had a conducting recital,
Mm.
and then an opera. So they were like back to back, one after
Oh,
another.
okay. Yeah. And now, and then afterwards, so did you just take a break? Did you just decide that you will sit out the few weeks?
Um, in my mind, it felt like it should have been a break because I was not going to school and I was not really seeing any of my friends, but yet still the academic obligations were still there. So we would
I
get,
see.
right,
Okay.
all of the assignments would come in and we would have to do them on our own. So it was half and half. On one
Mm.
hand, I wanted to take a break. On the other, we couldn't really uh,
Mm.
sit.
Did you have Zoom lessons, or were you, or did you just do your own thing basically
Oh,
in the with the studying?
we turned to Zoom.
Mm.
That actually there wasn't a lot of in between time. So the school uh, took up to Zoom very quickly, and all of our classes transitioned very quickly to Zoom.
Okay. And then during summer, were there some performances for you, or what happened?
No, well, no performances for me in the summer. Well, with the exception so my partner plays with the Colorado Symphony, and so they decided to do a series of outdoor concerts, and so I was able to go and be there for those. And then I did have a music festival I was supposed to be at, and they decided to do a virtual platform, so I did that over Zoom as well.
Oh, okay. So, and as the time progressed, I mean, you also probably had your third lockdown now.
Yeah. Oh well, our first lockdown never really ended. We-
Oh, really? So
yeah,
it
that
just
it's
carried on. Mm.
all the news I hear from friends in Europe, they have lockdown and then they're open up again, lockdown and open up.
Mm.
But here it never really changed.
I
There was
see.
one instance in Chicago where the governor said, "Okay, now you can go to a restaurant," and then 2 weeks later, it was back to
Oh, wow.
yeah.
And how do you deal with it now? Because have you started back at school again, and
Hmm.
um, yeah.
That's a good question. Well, dealing with it, I guess I just play it by ear. the um, the school, luckily, all of my professors, they had more time to change their lessons so that's fitted for the digital platform. And so the classes actually have been going pretty smoothly. Um, but you know, there's always the sense of uneasiness, like you've never met this person that you're supposed to have a project with, or how are we supposed to play music together when we have
Yeah.
the distance? Uh, I think I'm still getting used to it, um, and I'm not still not really 100% comfortable with the whole digital, the Zoom
Mm.
setting.
Uh, in your with your studies, do you work normally a lot then with orchestras? So you have this interaction the whole time.
Um, so periodically, the school has attempted to put together an in-person ensemble, and that has been great. So we do. I was able to conduct a couple times this past year, and just recently, about 2 weeks ago. Um, and once those rehearsals are done, then it's back to lockdown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I feel like I have been. Um, it's been, I guess, for lack of a better term, refreshing in
Mm,
some ways because I've been able to sit back and just kind of reflect over, you know, the journey that I've gone through, and then also think about, you know, what's next or what do I focus on now, and apply those to the next opportunity I get when I'm able to conduct
mm.
a group of musicians.
Do you ever question what if this was the right decision to do it, you know, or do you just wait for it to end?
um, if what was the right decision? If
To do conducting, and do you see a future, or do you get times where you feel, I wonder, you know, how this is going to work out?
Oh, that's you know, I always used to I always used to joke about this with my friends because I got into music pretty late.
Mm,
And I essentially dropped everything I had in order to do music. And so for me, there was never really a question of is am I doing the right thing, or
mm,
is this really what I want to be doing? Until recently.
mm. Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you asked that question because um, uh, it was about 3 weeks ago. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's also a conductor, and she was saying all these things about we don't know if the orchestra is going to be able to financially support their musicians, or we have no idea what 6 months from now will look like. And so she started looking at different avenues that music could take her outside of the world of performance. Um, and for me, it was really a question of, man, since I'm currently in school and this is my last year in school, so of course the next logical step, if there was no pandemic, would be to try to find a job or try
Mm,
to work with an organization. And at the moment, there don't seem to be any opportunities, and so I began to question: is this the right path to stay on? I mean, I have to put it that way because I want to stay on this
mm.
journey, but how do we make our craft relevant?
Yeah, you're not the only one. A lot of people go through
Yeah.
that, you know, this questioning, and I think then, yeah, you sort of get your head around it. And do you get a lot of support from your teachers? You know, motivation and how to manage this?
Yes. I've been in close contact with my mentors, and they all, um, in general, they say this is the time to really focus on yourself. Like the world is on hold. It's not just your life. The world is on hold. So this is the perfect opportunity for a conductor to focus on like self-reflection, to gain more knowledge, and so that when the opportunity does come, and they assured me that it will, um, when the opportunity does come, then hopefully we'll be ready.
Yeah. But how did you start in music? How old were you when you first, because you must have played an instrument first.
Yes, yeah. So I played. I grew up. First of all, I grew up singing. Um,
Mm.
uh, my family is Eastern Orthodox, and so I grew up in the church singing chant, and then when I was in school, I played clarinet, um,
Mm.
and then and as well as guitar. So I play flamenco guitar. Um, and then once I got into college, I had all this background with like lessons and so on. But then once I got into college, my parents, despite me saying I wanted to study music, I want to study music, they said, "Well, you should do what you want to do, but you should be a doctor." So for the majority of my undergrad, I was had my sights on the medical field. Um,
Okay.
but unbeknownst to my parents, I would take music major classes, um, sing and play in ensembles.
Mm.
And so by my final year in school, uh, what was happening? There was one specific moment. So the orchestra, my friend who was in the orchestra told me, "Hey, you should come and see this show because they're doing Mahler's Third." And I didn't really know who Mahler was. Um,
Mm.
and I went to the concert, and I'm I'm sitting there and I'm hearing this this mezzo start singing, and in the right in the middle, and then I just, something inside of me is just tearing apart. Like I could not. Um, I needed to do music, or like I needed to keep going down this path that I see right here, and after the concert, I went back to the library and studied for my biology final.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but um,
Well, was that your final year in medicine or?
that was my final year in medicine, and so so when I went back to the library to study, I'm sitting there, I can't concentrate, and so
Mm.
my computer's in front of me. There's nobody in the library. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and finally I say screw this, and so I logged on to my student account. I dropped my name from the graduation list, and I signed up for an additional year
Wow.
to fulfill the music major. And then 2 weeks later, I told my parents, "Hey, I'm going to stay for one more year of college." um,
And what was the reaction?
oh, my mom said, she's like, I probably knew that you would do something
Mm.
like this. My dad was furious. Um,
Okay.
but it it did take some convincing, but when they came to, I started learning conducting, and when they came to my first concert, that's when my dad finally turned around and said, "Okay, you look like
Mm.
you're what is the term? Or it's when you do all this work, but you're never working."
Mm. Yeah.
That's what he said,
Mm.
and yeah, it's ever since then that it ruined my life.
But I think it's wonderful that you found this, that you didn't think, I've come this far in medicine, I might as well just finish, that you just made that turn that day. I think it's amazing because I think not many people do what they love. They do what,
Yeah.
like you say, what they're supposed to do or what they think they should do.
Yes.
And I think it's uh, wonderful if you can make that choice, even if it was a bit late, but you could make it.
Mhm.
Um, and but tell me, what did you do in lockdown that was totally different than what you usually do. Do you have a hobby or um, uh,
Oh, that's a good question.
some people start cooking and some bake and some garden and plant tomatoes
Yeah,
and there's a baritone here in Vienna who bought chickens.
uh I mean I started baking and cooking more.
Yeah, yeah.
I realized that when I went to the supermarket to buy some food, there was no bread. There was no bread. There was no flour or yeast, and I
Mm,
just happened to have some in the cupboard, and so I
mm,
said, I better start trying to make my own bread, and it's not.
mm.
It's been fun.
Oh, okay.
Um, in terms of hobbies, I realized in order to try and stay physically active, I used to play tennis back in middle school and high school, and for a long time I quit. And then it's weird that where a pandemic that requires you to stay inside, and all of a sudden I want to just go outside and play. So
Oh,
I've
okay. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
I've
yeah.
been
Mm,
trying to be more physically active as well.
yeah. Do you find that amongst your musician colleagues, there is more unity or solidarity or people coming together more?
Could you repeat that? I think the first part
So
cut out.
amongst your musician colleagues, do you find there, and the students, music students, do you find there's more solidarity, more people coming together than before? You know, like
Um,
ensembles forming or the people collaborating in a way?
um, I think it's half and half. For many musician friends who, well, I've been in school for a long time, so many musician friends who I knew early on in my graduate studies, who have now finished their degrees and started playing music outside of school. Yes, they're trying to find as many possible ways they can to play music. On the other hand, uh, have getting to work with the new undergraduates who are
Mm,
experiencing graduate school over this platform for the very first time. Um,
yeah.
they, there's a certain level of nervousness and in being unsure of how to approach everything. And then when we do get a chance to play music together, the the format is such that everyone is very spread out. Um, I've never seen half of the ensemble's actual faces. I just see their eyes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the word I guess timid would be
Mm,
the right word. Like not being sure of how your sound fits with the person who's sitting next to you because we can't. They're so far away. We can't hear them.
mm,
And but I think once we get over that barrier, then the younger kids they start to enjoy the process better.
mm. It seems to be the first years or the newcomers and then
Mhm.
also the ones that graduate. They are the ones in the difficult situation.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Mm, mm. Tell me, do you feel artists are valued?
Oh, I would certainly hope so. Um,
Mm,
at some of the man, that's a good question because I think in the United States, particularly, our artists are being, I think they're being undervalued. Uh,
mm,
some people in major organizations, like we see examples in the Met Orchestra, um, who have gone a year without pay. The organization itself has not held a concerts for almost a year, and now is on the brink of dissolving essentially. And I feel like that is a shame and something uh, that the community and the government should support. The evidence is not exactly there. Like for example, we see the music director for the Philadelphia Orchestra. He wrote this letter to the new administration here, asking like imploring them to please value the arts, because it is a sign of, it is a symbol of the resilience of our culture, um, and something
Who
that we
is
should
Yannick?
share. Yannick Nezet-Segan.
Ah, okay.
I Yes, and so he wrote this letter to the Biden administration.
Mm,
Um, I certainly hope that artists will be just as respected and regarded.
mm. Yes, because I hear in America, a lot of funding comes from private organizations and not necessarily from the government.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Mm.
Um,
But what
yeah.
do you, no,
Oh no,
carry
please,
on.
please.
Um, how do you feel about the education system concerning arts? Because I'm asking everybody if the solution to this problem wouldn't be the fact that we change this school system, because the schools are really designed for the industrial era.
Mhm.
The subjects are all maths and sciences, and of course for you it was initially you went into the into sciences,
Mhm.
but I mean many people, many children don't. And
Right.
if you look now at the latest research that's been done on neuroplasticity, um, brain development, then there are so much evidence to show that uh, music, movement, different art, forms of art definitely has an impact on the brain or the brain development, and especially in young children. Um, and that we then talk about, yes, I mean, of course, now there's funding needed for the artists that are now pursuing their careers, but that we start looking at the art education in the schools, that it should be compulsory, and that from there children can choose in which direction they go, but that the basis is there.
Mhm. Well, it's an I think in America the even before the pandemic, when uh, whenever there was any talk of budget cuts within the academic system, it would always be the arts to go first, right? So we're coming from that background, and all of a sudden, the school system is faced with this crisis of the pandemic and how that affects how we teach the younger generation, and now with with an institution that already looks to the arts to be the first one to go if we need money. Now uh, how to prioritize the teaching environment of the maths, the sciences, and so on, and try to connect ways that music can be applicable to all of those areas. I think that is true, but I don't think that has been examined as thoroughly, like how music can be, or the music and even all of the arts can be connected to the
Mm.
different fields that we teach in school. Um, right now, I think everyone is concerned with um, how do we teach young children with this the pandemic protocol.
Mm.
Not so much, and how do we take care of the people who are doing the teaching? That's been the biggest issue that has caused this hurdle that hasn't really been jumped over yet in order to even address the arts, the place of the arts in
Mm.
school. Like I do have a friend who was a teacher um, uh, in a middle school, like teaching orchestra and music, and she, through her example, it was obvious that the school itself is not prioritizing um, teachers in order for them to best relay their information to the children, and so they can apply it.
Mm.
So I feel like we have a lot of steps to go, and the pandemic has only revealed that, made
Yeah.
like shed light on the problem.
Well, I believe you know, the more we talk about it also, you know, and I think the artists, I think you are the ones to find the solutions, because I think it, you have the skills to find solutions, and I think your brains are developed in such a way that you know, you find solutions, and you know, you can overcome obstacles and things like that. Um, Now, there was something else I wanted to ask you, but we talked about the education now, and give me a moment. Let me just think
Sure.
of this one. Yeah, no, I can't. Tell me, what is your wish for when this is all over?
My wish. I would like, I imagine a world after the pandemic where people are able to walk around, um, acknowledging that their neighbor, the person walking side by side with them on the street that they've never met before, has gone through the experience, the same experience as we have, and that everyone has done their part in order to uh, in order to allow the world to overcome this obstacle. Um, like a sort of recognition that we can mutually grow in the face of a common shared problem. And I feel like recognition that everyone plays their role is all has a big part to do with that. Um, like science is doing its part trying to find the vaccine. Uh, Politics is doing its part trying to organize um, organize how locally we will take care of the problems. Businesses are doing their best to maintain connection with its customers, and I believe that arts also has a role in this. Like, like after coming out of the pandemic, we're going to need a lot of spiritual nourishment, and we need it now. Um, and my wish is that people can see the arts for as the source of this sort of nourishment.
I totally agree with you there. Yeah. Do you think audiences will be more eager to see live concerts?
Oh, I see it now. Yeah, there.
Or is it?
The oh, I mean, not live concerts, but I see the eagerness now.
Mm.
From day one, and I've certainly felt it myself. Like one day when I woke up, I looked on my phone and I saw a clip of the Berlin Philharmonic, the last movement of Beethoven's Ninth, and I normally when I see these clips, it's just a small little segment, and I just keep scrolling. And um, but for some reason, I watched the whole thing, and then I turned up the volume, and I went back and watched it again,
Mhm.
and I just couldn't help but think like when will we have this again?
Mm.
What I would give to hear music one more time.
Mm. To have that experience again.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think now that artists are doing a lot of performances online, you know, like some people play violin from their living rooms and so on, that there will be more a contact with the artists, you know, that now suddenly the public has a different perception of the artist, and that maybe
Oh,
bring a different type of closeness to them?
oh, definitely. I think that this pandemic has been a curse, but on the other hand, it's been a blessing because of the technology that we have available. Um, I feel at the moment I've never been more connected with so many different people all at once.
Mm.
Constantly messaging them like, oh, how are you doing? Oh, hi, I'm Nick, and I know I've seen this about you, and like I would like to connect with you about this, and um, I've seen also my friends who in their living rooms or with their next door neighbors playing music on video and creating a video or creating a live performance, and through that I've seen them connect with other human beings and different organizations, and it's been wonderful. It's really put a spotlight on the the desire and need of an artist to project his or her art. And I definitely agree that it creates this image that the public will be more accepting of the artist, because whenever someone who is not a musician goes to a concert and sees the performers on stage, they see the polished look, they see the prepared
Exactly.
performance. um, I can't even imagine what their living room would look like.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
now we
yeah.
do. Yeah, now we do, and then like, and it's a chance for everyone to realize that these are human beings just like us, and whereas this person might express his or herself through their sport, or this person over here might express his or herself through writing. An artist, like a musician, expresses through sound and is a human being in that sense.
Mm. Totally. I agree with you there. I also think now that I've photographed all these artists, I have a different um, insight into what the life of an artist is like. And I think also if people, it's like you say, that polished look, but if people understand more about um, the life of an artist, how long they study, what they go through. And also I think it's wonderful to hear about all the competitions the artist wins. But I do think stories, like things like I heard the other day, a conductor told me that him and his sister, they lived together while they were studying, and they went to the supermarket and they had something like €2 in their purse, um, and figuring out what they're going to eat, what they're going to buy to eat. And we never think of that when you see somebody there on stage, or you see, you know, all dressed up in a frock and costume and or
Mhm.
dress or whatever. You cannot imagine that that could be the case. So, um, I spoke to another tenor who told me he came from the township in South Africa, and the journey and how he went for his first audition and things like that. I think it's amazing stories. It's inspiring. And even your story as well, for that one person who uh, is doing the same, or is thinking of, but really I want to do music, but I'm in a totally different course. That might be that your story um, ignites the spark for this person to say, hey, I'm going to do that.
I
So
certainly hope
I
so.
think I think storytelling in that sense, human storytelling, and not just I won 8 competitions. I think that's and we don't have to make a drama of it, but it's good to know these stories, I think.
Yes.
So but I thank you so much for your time,
Oh, thank you. No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
and very inspirational. I'm so glad I heard your story, and that yeah, you have a wonderful insight, and how you motivate yourself. That's wonderful to hear. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, may I ask, how did you find out about me? Because I feel like I've been terrible at keeping up an online presence of any sort, and
Well, I run this whole project on energy, good energy. And I started off when I started photographing artists in their windows. Initially, I said to myself, because I just wanted to make people happy. I thought I'd take 50 photographs and put it on my Instagram and just make people happy. So it wasn't initially the idea. So I thought, well, I'll just, whoever comes on my news feed on Facebook or Instagram, I will write to them. And then when I started photographing and started posting, of course, Facebook then suggests people, you know,
Mhm.
you get this suggested. And I never looked at the suggested friends. But then I started looking for people in Vienna, for artists in Vienna. And of course, you are all so connected worldwide. So if you want, if you connect with one person, then you know they've got many other people, many other musician friends. So I really think Facebook is an amazing networking tool, you know, like
Mhm.
and it's not that I went out hunting for people. It was just I really had this very free idea of, well, you know, when whoever comes on the news feed and is doing something interesting, then I stay away from people who have a lot of political opinions, because I want the project to have I believe in the law of retaliation. I think, you know, when positive things go out, then positive things come back. So
Mhm.
I I like the fact that the people that I'm sort of connected to are all nice people. Not that I say political people are not nice people, but I'm just saying the vibe. You know,
Mhm.
it's like this vibe. Actually, a conductor here in Vienna, um, when I was about halfway through this project, he asked me one day. He said, "How is it possible that you are photographing the nicest people in the industry?" And of course, I don't know the industry, you know, I'm nobody here. And he said, well, I don't know. I just really thought I want just nice people on the project. So I got nice people. But
Amazing.
I think you came on my newsfeed, and I'm fascinated by conductors, because I think you are um, the leaders, and I think you are. I find it fascinating that you can bring the sounds together. You know, that it's this orchestra with all the different sounds, and you can bring it together. So yeah, I think conductors are fascinating musicians.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I've spoken to many conductors here in Vienna as well, young conductors and also older conductors. And yeah, I think it's you have to have a very specific talent to do it, and and I think that comes maybe with hearing or listening a lot, and I don't know. I as I say, I don't know much about music. I just um, sense these things from people, and listen to what people are telling me, and drink coffee, and I drank many coffees in Vienna. So after the 400 I photographed. So, but anyway, but whenever you come to Vienna, please write to me, and we can meet
Mhm.
face to face, and then we could have our coffee.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it. I've
Do you
always wanted to
travel?
go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've never set foot in Europe. That's I'm ashamed to
Really?
say. I've never been.
Oh, really? Well, I've never been to America, so yeah. Okay, Nicholas, have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.